What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Inside Inter Miami, the Miami Herald show about all things Inter Miami. I am your host, Andre Fernandez, Deputy Sports Editor at the Herald, joined once again, as always, actually. I'm the one that hasn't been around lately, but I'm back now. But Michelle has been here. Michelle, the mainstay, Michelle Kaufman, with the team, seeing how well they've been doing. I mean, kicking some butt, even without Lionel Messi. This week, we'll talk a little bit about Lionel Messi, of course, and I'll give you an update on his injury status. What's the latest? Is he back yet? When's he going to be back? Inter Miami, though, keeps winning without the GOAT. They win their Leagues Cup opener, a 2-0 victory over Puebla. We'll talk about that a little bit. Who scored? Who rested? Who stood out? Yannick Bright is playing great with the team. We'll talk a little bit about him. We have to talk about Robert Taylor, the extension they gave him. He's going to stay with the team for a while. David Martinez joining the team on loan from River Plate, Leagues Cup. The next game coming up against Tigres for Inter Miami. And, of course, we're going to drop in a little Olympic soccer with Benja Cremaschi, Diego Gomez playing for Paraguay, how they've been doing so far. But this is an Inter Miami show, ladies and gentlemen. If you've forgotten, we're all about the pink and black, and we're going to talk about the most important component of this team. What's the latest, Michelle? When is Messi coming back?
Oh, well, the game the other day, Messi was still wearing a boot, much to the chagrin of everybody in the dismay. He was still in a walking boot as of Saturday. He sat in the stands and watched with his wife in a booth. In fact, at one point, there's a video that's gone viral where she's like side eyeing because he's on his phone. The game is going on and he's sitting on his cell phone and she's trying to see. I don't know if she's trying to see who he's texting or what he's looking at, but anyway, she didn't look too thrilled that he didn't have his eyes focused on the field at that particular moment. Um, but anyway, yeah, he is. Tata told us that, and Luis Suarez also said, we spoke to him after, and they're very close, that the ankle is looking better and better. It is not nearly as swollen as what we saw. I mean, remember, this is still from July 14th. This happened on the Copa America final, which was July 14th. So we're now pushing August here. Um, so the swelling has gone down. They said he looks a lot better, but he was still wearing the boot as of Saturday. And Tata said it was probably going to be several more days in the boot. Once he gets the boot off, then they'll be able to evaluate when he can start doing things on the field. Up until now, he's just working with the physios, and he's got the boot. He's working on strength and stuff like that, but he has not been able to do any training at all, on his feet on the field. So knowing that, highly, highly doubtful that
Yeah,
he
I was
will,
going to say,
I mean,
sounds
basically
a little
impossible.
iffy.
He's not going to play Saturday. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's not going to play this Saturday. There's just no way. He's going to play against Tigres when he was in a walking boot this past Saturday. Potentially, if they go deep into the tournament, late August is when the latest rounds are. The semifinals are August 20th and 21st. The Leagues Cup final is August 25th, and the next MLS game, which this is going to be an issue too, if they happen to make the final, which is August 25th, they would have had a game on August 24th against Cincinnati. Of all
Right.
teams, the rematch of the game they
Yeah.
lost 6-1 in Cincinnati. They have the home game against Cincinnati scheduled for the 24th. Now, I assume that if Miami is in the final of Leagues Cup, that they will maybe
Got to
switch that.
reschedule.
They'll
Yeah.
move that game. There's no way they're going to play two games back to back.
Right.
So anyway, what the only sort of hint that Tata has been saying, he said he doesn't want to speculate on an exact return date, but he has been saying things like, I hope to have the whole team back by the end of August. I'm counting on having the whole team back by the end of August. Once we have the whole team back by the end of August, we'll be able to really, be at our best. So I think the thinking is that Messi is probably going to be out for another few weeks at least and miss most of the Leagues Cup is my guess, and maybe come in for the final couple rounds and for when the MLS resumes for the playoff push in the final part of the season. I believe that he will be back for that.
I mean, Michelle, this team last year could barely beat anybody when Messi was out. And now they're 7-1 without him. looks like you're saying, for the foreseeable future, looks like they may have to win the League's Cup if they want to repeat as champions without him. And they're getting collective efforts. Matias Rojas, Epistolero, of course, even Drake Callender on the bench in goal, someone else in goal, Dos Santos in goal, and they're still winning games. I mean, and not, you can't knock the competition. They're doing it against good teams, maybe
they're
mid-level
7-1. They're 7.
Yeah, they're 7-1. I mean, what do you see on the
They're
field? The
seven
biggest
and one.
change.
They're 7 and
What do you
1.
feel? Yeah, what do you feel has driven that?
They're 7-1 without him since June 1st, since he left for Copa, which is remarkable. It is truly remarkable. I mean, they had that one anomaly of a game against Cincinnati, 6-1. That was a horrible loss. But other than that, they're 7-1 without Messi. And this last game, they started, for the League's Cup opener against Puebla. He decided to start CJ Dos Santos out of the blue for Drake Callender. And the team still was able to win 2-0. One thing is the defense has been playing much better. You look at, for example, 2-0. They've been playing much better defensively. I feel like the midfield, Yannick Bright, you mentioned Yannick Bright in our introduction. Yannick Bright has been playing unbelievable. And Tata is going to have a real dilemma when everybody comes back, when Kramaski is back and everybody's back healthy and Diego Gomez and all these guys are back. And now that David Martinez is playing on the back line, Busi was playing in the back line as a stopgap measure. But when they have David, Martinez in the back, and Aviles had a little head injury, a little minor concussion, if he's back or is back and Martinez is back and they push Busi back up to where he's supposed to play, and Redondo is also playing there, the dilemma is going to be where to put Yannick Bright, because I'm not the only one saying it. The announcers on Apple were raving about Yannick Bright. Tata has been raving about Yannick Bright. This kid, literally, to come in as a rookie from college, University of New Hampshire, MLS, first round pick, 15th pick overall. But he's not coming in like these players from South America who have had professional experience. He came in here as a college kid, and he is just playing so smart in the midfield. He's a very good defensive midfielder. He leads the league in interceptions per 90 minutes. He leads the entire league in interceptions per 90 minutes. He intercepts the ball constantly. He comes up behind guys, steal the ball from them without committing fouls, because that's the other thing. There are other players on this team who, when they intercept a ball, they also commit a foul, and then they end up getting yellow cards and whatever. He did have a couple fouls in this last game, which was uncharacteristic, but he generally is a very clean tackler. That's really what he's known for. And I think he's made a big difference. I did a profile on him. If you guys haven't read it yet, on Yannick Bright, look up Yannick Bright, Michelle Kaufman, Miami Herald, and you'll see the story I did. Because Tata was raving about him so much, I figured it's a good time to write about Yannick, and I did an interview with him. And he's a really interesting guy. The main thing is smart. Very smart player. He graduated cum laude. He graduated toward the top of his class at University of New Hampshire in December. So he graduated early with a finance degree. So while he was playing Division I soccer, he was a three-time All-American. While he's being that, he's also getting very high grades as a finance major at a university, and graduates cum laude near the top of his class with a finance degree. He did a finance internship last summer, which is not something you hear from professional soccer players. And so he's really, really smart. And that is the thing. I spoke to his college coach, the coach and he was an assistant. The same coach was an assistant when he found Yannick in Milan. For those who don't know his story, really quick recap of, because I do want you to read the story. But he's from Milan. He's Italian. He's Italian, grew up in Milan. He and his brother were huge AC Milan fans. They both went out for the AC Milan Academy, which is called the Primavera. They both went out for the academy. His younger brother made it. He did not. He was cut. And he said that he was not considered the footballer of the family. He was considered the scholar of the family. His brother, his younger brother, was considered the footballer of the family. So his younger brother goes with AC Milan with their youth academy. This Yannick's father, who was a truck driver and always wanted better for his two boys, and his daughter, who's a volleyball player, said, Yannick, why don't you go to the United States? Go and play in college because you're a scholar. You can get it, you can get a scholarship, you'll get a degree, you can play soccer on the side. So anyway, there's a long, interesting story about how University of New Hampshire ended up finding him, which is really cool and fascinating. But basically, the assistant coach went over there and watched him 5 minutes. And in 5 minutes, called the head coach and said, we have to get this guy. We need to offer him a scholarship right now on the spot. And they did after seeing him 5 minutes. And it was the exact same thing that Tata saw and the same things we're seeing now, which is he's really smart. He's very good away from the ball. And he's really good, intercepting the ball and pushing the ball into play without committing fouls. So when you ask what's different, Yannick Bright has made a big impact. And I just think in general, the midfield is playing much better. The defense is playing better, and a lot of people are scoring. In the absence of Lionel Messi and in the absence of Luis Suarez for most of that time, a lot of other people stepped up, including Robert Taylor too.
Yeah, but I'm with you on the defensive side because we talked about, I remember in weeks past, how having more of a natural defender back there. And you said the switch with Boosie now is going to help put him back where he's comfortable the most and where he can produce the most. And but the defensive side is huge. I mean, you can even just look. It's obvious. I mean, this team leads the league in scoring, but has given up a lot of goals from previous games. Obviously, now it's starting to die down a bit. But I'm going to give you an example. I'm looking at the Columbus Crew, the defending champions. They're not that far behind in terms of scoring of Inter Miami. But when you look at it, they've only given up 22 goals all season. They are the best defensive team in MLS. So if Inter Miami truly wants to win the MLS Cup this year, they got to get a lot better.
They have to step on the defense.
And they have given it.
Yeah, and they have going into this last game. I believe the number was 37 that Inter Miami had given up 30. They had scored 56 goals or something, which led the league, but they had given up 37, which was the most out of the top 7 teams in the East. That was the most. So Inter Miami conceded the most goals out of the top 7 teams in the East, and that does not bode well. When you do have to, it means they have to score a lot of goals to win these games, which they have been doing. But if there comes a game where they can't score very much, or they just score one, the defense really had to step up. So, they brought in David Martinez from River Plate. He's on loan for 1 year with the option to buy his contract next year. He's a guy, it's pretty interesting for those of you who have been following Inter Miami pre-Messi. He sort of was displaced at River Plate by Leandro Gonzalez Pires, LGP, who played on Inter Miami. So Leandro Gonzalez Pires, LGP, was a player on Inter Miami. They shipped him off to River Plate. He's from Argentina. I honestly thought he was going to come back and play with Inter Miami because he had played at Atlanta with Tata. He was a big part of Tata's championship team. I thought he was going to come back, but no, they really liked him at River Plate. They kept him there. He's a center back. And so David Martinez was not getting enough playing time. LGP was getting more playing time than David Martinez. He was looking for more playing time. So they were able to bring him over on a loan. And he already looked pretty good in the first game that he played. He just played his debut the other night. He had to start and play 90 minutes after only training for 1 or 2 days. He had just arrived and just got his work visa. And he started and played 90 minutes because of the injuries to the other 2 guys. And he actually looked very good for a guy who had only played with the team for 2 days. He did seem to blend in, and he does seem to, to be an experienced defender in the back who also has a good left foot, which is something they were looking for. He's going to be a left center back primarily.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Robert Taylor and the fact that he is going to be in that pink and black jersey for a pretty good while longer, and well deserved.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at what he's done. He showed it from the beginning when Messi got here, the chemistry they have in the open field, everything. just the impact of this signing, Michelle, has got to be, it's definitely something good. And again, one of those players you want to have for a while in there, when you're looking at the long-term vision of the team.
Yeah, I mean, Robert Taylor, he was in the last year of his contract. He was starting to get a little bit worried. He was starting to get a little bit antsy. I talked to him, and Tata had mentioned it the other day that, I think Robert is at his best when he's secure and he feels, a little bit insecure because he had not signed his contract yet. They were in negotiations when we spoke to Tata, but he ended up signing a two-year extension through the 26th season. By the way, all the word is that the 26th season will be played at the new stadium in Miami. They just sent out the season ticket renewal forms today, and it says on the email, this will be our 2025 is expected to be our last season, at the Chase Stadium and blah blah blah. So anyway, Robert Taylor is signed through the 2026 season with an option for 2027. He's a guy who really, probably doesn't get enough attention, but he said he understands why he's on the bench a lot of the times. He said, when you look and see who's starting for this team, I can't mope. I can't complain. They deserve it. These guys are superstars. They're really good. They're really talented. They deserve to be out there. So he said, all I can do is be a good teammate. And when it is my turn, when they do call me up, then I have to just do everything I can to maintain what those guys are doing on the field. And so he's been a really good teammate. He's had a very good attitude, and and he's a guy that when he was linking up with Lionel Messi last year in the Leagues Cup, he had 4 goals in 5 games and several assists. He actually is tied with Messi for the most assists, I believe, since last year. So he's a very productive player, kind of quiet production. People don't talk about Robert Taylor as much as, as El Pistolero, by the way, who did score the other day. So he gets to get his Pistolero. And he said he had been in pain. He had been in pain. He didn't go to the MLS All-Star game. He told us afterward that he did have knee discomfort and knee pain. But in his words, his body told him that he had to play. His body told him that the team needs him to play in the Leagues Cup opener. And so he played even with some pain, and he was very happy to be able to score and to help the team. Robert Taylor it's great news that for the team that they now have him locked and secured, and he feels really, really happy. I asked him how he's different from when he got here, and he said that he's bulked up and he's had to get stronger. That he said one thing he learned when he came from Finland is that, well, something that a lot of the players who come from Europe figure out, that this is a very physical league. People maybe say MLS is not as good as, EPL and not as good as La Liga and all that stuff. True. But it's a very physical league. So guys who are used to a tactical game and a finesse game and, more technical, they come here and you have to be strong and you have to be fast. And Robert Taylor told me that when he first got here, he felt like he was bullied on the field. He said he felt like they were knocking him around pretty good and he was not able to be at his best. And so he had to go to the gym. He said, to be blunt, I had to hit the gym. And he said he hit the gym and he's gotten stronger physically. And now he feels much more comfortable getting bumped and getting knocked around, that he can still keep the ball in possession, even when he gets, knocked around. And he said at the beginning when he first got here, he couldn't do that. So he said he's a different player now than when he got here, and he's learning so much from all these superstars. And so, yeah, they've got him. You look at this team, the one thing that I got to say is the depth is what I don't think everybody talked about the big four. We talked about it, the Beatles, the Mount Rushmore, the Messi, Busquets, Alba, and Suarez. And yes, that's all true. However, since June 1st, there's been no Messi. We only had, Luis Suarez has barely played since June 1st also. And yet the team is 7-1. And there is depth, incredible depth on this team. When you start looking at all the different positions, you have Matias Rojas, who's scoring. You have Robert Taylor. You have Ian Frey. You have, Yannick Bright. You have now David Martinez. You have Kremaski, who's at the Olympics, and Diego Gomez is at the Olympics. These are all really, really good players. And, when everybody's back and everybody's healthy at the end of August, I think Tata's right that this is going to be a really, really strong team. And Gressel has also been playing well in the midfield. In the last several games, he's been doing a lot of the linking up. He's been providing a lot of the crosses and a lot of assists. So, the team is much improved, honestly, from the beginning of the season, even without some of the star players.
Yeah. I mean, you look at when you even just now in the last few days when they bring in a David Martinez in there, 26 years old. Granted, he's on loan, but if it all goes well, who knows? Maybe they can try to keep him around longer than July of next year. We'll see. I mean, it's another player that'd be great if they can somehow pull that off too. But again, you're just adding those pieces and adding, like you said, because you knew that was going to be a fact of life. You knew they weren't going to have the superstars all the time. We knew that since the beginning, and they've been able to put guys in key spots, and they're sparking this run right now that has them in contention for both trophies, for the Leagues Cup and for the MLS Cup, the
Absolutely.
big one. So
yeah, absolutely. And Tata deserves credit, but also he made a point to credit, and this is very important to me too, to mention this. Tata made a big point to mention Chris Henderson and the scouting staff, including Fede Higuain and Nicky Budalic. And he said that, when you look at Leo Afonso, who we haven't even mentioned, this is a guy who's from Boca, not Boca Juniors, Boca United in Boca Raton, Florida.
yeah,
Okay.
this Boca.
And he went to this Boca, and he went to Virginia. So he went to college also. So Leo Afonso and Yannick Bright both were draft picks this year in this year's draft, and they both have been important players for this team, especially in the absence of the other guys when the other guys aren't here. So these are two guys that came in from college, and Tata wanted to make it a point to mention that he wouldn't have known who those guys are. That is Chris Henderson and his scouting staff. They're the ones who scouted those two college players and brought them in. And within a month or two of them being on the second team, they had been elevated to the first team. And they are now pretty significant players for the team. They come in and they've made significant, contributions. So I think the depth of this team is the biggest surprise. We all knew that the big stars were going to be big stars, and Messi is Messi, Suarez is Suarez. Suarez right now leads the team with 13 goals. Messi has 12. They're still the two leading scorers of the team. But these other guys are really stepping up, and they're starting to realize, like Yannick's college coach said to me, that he feels at the beginning, Yannick was a little bit like, do I belong here? Do I belong on the field with Lionel Messi and Busquets and Alba and Suarez? And now the college coach who watched him play for all those years said, I see this confident kid who's saying, you know what? Yeah, I belong out here. Fine. I'm here. I'm one of them. And as the season has gone on, I think that's been the case with a lot of these players where, they've come in and they've gained a lot of confidence, and they're not just deferring and nervous around those stars. I think they're really blending as a team. And that is a good sign for the end of the season.
Definitely. And I know we're going to talk, we're going to look ahead to the next Leagues Cup game. But before we do that, since we're on the theme of young players, how about Benja in the Olympics, contributing to the USA success? I mean, so far you got Diego Gomez with Paraguay. Both teams, Paraguay and the U.S. right now, they're in exactly the same spots in their groups. They're in second place in each group, 2 wins, 1 loss, looking to qualify for the knockout stage of the Olympics.
They did. They both qualified.
Or they both qualified already?
They qualified today.
Okay. There you
go.
So,
both teams clinched today. Both teams clinched on Tuesday. The United States clinched, and Paraguay clinched. So both, interestingly enough, they both got a little bit fortunate and lucky. The United States is going to be playing Morocco in the quarterfinals. Why?
Right.
Because Spain lost. Spain was supposed to be the cream of the group. Well, Paraguay is playing Egypt. Egypt beat Spain in this last round. So, it's going to be really interesting. Spain is playing Japan. So the quarterfinalists are Spain against Japan, France against Argentina. Argentina is the one that lost to Morocco. Excuse me, not Spain. Argentina lost to Morocco in that crazy game in the first game. Remember, where there was a lot of drama because they added 16 minutes. Argentina scored. They took the goal away. The Moroccan people went crazy. They threw things on the field. They had to suspend the game for an hour and a half. There was violence. It was awful. Anyway, but as it happened, they took the goal away from Argentina in that game. So Morocco ends up winning. beating Argentina. So Argentina is going to play France. Paraguay is going to play Egypt. That's a winnable game for Paraguay with Diego Gomez.
Right.
And
Yep.
USA with Ben Hakramaski is going to play Morocco. That is also a winnable game. That is not what they were expecting to play Morocco.
Right.
So USA got a lucky break there. Benha at 19 years old got to play in the previous game. He played, toward the end. I think he came in around the 67th minute at 19 years old. And against New Zealand, he did not play in this last game, but he played. He got in the game. He got in the Olympic game, and Diego Gomez is a starter. Diego Gomez is a starter for Paraguay. Played in every game, had 2 assists in their previous game against Israel. So he's a key player for Paraguay. But both of those players are going to continue on to the quarterfinals, which are on Friday. This coming Friday is the Olympic quarterfinals with both Inter Miami players in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, tremendous experience, I'm sure. I mean, talk about Benha, what he's been able to do playing with Messi on this team and a star-laden squad like this at only 19, and now to get the chance to do that on the Olympic stage. Tremendous start to his career, and we're eagerly following and hoping for the best for him and Team USA. But let's wrap this up by talking a little bit about the next step. It'll be the final of the last of the 2 games in this brief pool round of the Leagues Cup. Tigres and Inter Miami, Saturday night at 8. Same bat time, same bat channel like last week. Can Miami can Miami go 2-0 and get to the knockout stage unscathed? What do you think of the matchup, Michelle?
I think this is going to be a much, much harder matchup. This is not Puebla. Puebla, I think, Tata was asked after the fact that you started CJ Dos Santos in goal. Like, does that mean that you don't really care that much about Leagues Cup, that you're really favoring MLS Cup? Because, it's pretty unusual when you're starting a tournament to bet, play your backup keeper if there's no issue. He said, no, not at all. He wanted to stress that CJ Dos Santos had just worked so hard all season and there had not been any opportunity to play him. And they really wanted to give him an opportunity to play and to stay motivated. And, also for a guy like that, if he aspires to play for another team, he wants to have some footage of himself. You know what I mean? Like, what are the scouts looking at? If the guy never gets off the bench, he doesn't have any minutes. So they wanted to give him an opportunity. And I do think that they saw that Puebla was the 13th place team in Liga MX and, probably not going to be that tough of a matchup for them at home. So they played him. I'm expecting that Drake Callender will be back in goal for this game on Saturday. And this game is against Tigres, which is number 2 in Liga MX. They are the second best team in Liga MX, not 13. They are the number 2 team. They're a very strong team. And the game was strategically placed in Houston because last year's Leagues Cup, the Mexican teams really were at a disadvantage. They were traveling all over the place and they didn't have home field advantage anywhere because none of the games are in Mexico. So they did do the next best thing for a Mexican team. Put the game in Houston. For the next best thing for a Mexican team is put the game in Houston, put the game in LA. So they got LA and Houston and Dallas to some degree too. Anywhere in Texas and anywhere
Texas
in LA,
or
California.
LA. Right.
Yeah. So anyway, Tigres will be playing in Houston at Energy Stadium, which is a really big NFL stadium. And they are expecting a really big crowd of Mexicans to be cheering on that team. And, if Messi's not playing, which is, cannot imagine, they're not going to really have as big of a Messi crowd there as you would have when Messi is playing. There would be a lot of pink and black when Messi's playing. If Messi's not playing and it's a regular Inter Miami team, even with the other stars, I think Tigres could have a very large, loud Mexican fan contingent. So it's not going to be, it's going to be much more of a home game.
Yeah, it's going to be a road game.
I believe
it's going to be a road game.
It's going to be a road game for this team. It's going to be a road game for this team and much more of a home game for Tigres. So we'll see. The way this tournament works, there's 3 teams in the group and the top 2 teams advance. So Tigres is going to be playing against Puebla, the 2 Mexican teams. They are also playing in Houston, but not at Energy Stadium. They're going to be playing at Shell at the Houston Dynamo Stadium. So they will be playing in a smaller venue, but it will also be in Houston. So there will be a lot of Mexican fans for that game, a lot of Mexican fans for this game on Saturday. And then if Miami advances, then the round of 32 is August 7th to 9th. And we don't know yet, where those games would be. But yeah, to be honest, overall, this Leagues Cup, going by the first game, of course, compared to last year, it does not have the energy, the excitement, the hype. Last year's Leagues Cup was Messi's debut. Last year's Leagues Cup was Messi's debut in MLS, and everybody was tuning in from all over the world to see Messi in that pink shirt for the first time and the second time and the third time and the fourth time. And they won their first 7 games with him, and they lifted the Leagues Cup trophy.
Right.
And they were in last place back then. It was very different. That team, that Inter Miami team, was in last place. Tata had just taken over. Messi was playing his first game. Busquets was playing his first game. Jordi Alba playing his first game. So that was a really exciting period.
All brand new, right?
It was all brand new, and they went from being the worst team in MLS to being the Leagues Cup champion in the span of 1 month. This year, the team is coming in as the first place team. Okay, in a way, it's messing up their momentum because they had this great momentum going. And now they did win the other day, so they kept it going. They're 7-1. But here they are having this great run in the league, and all of a sudden now it's like, put on the brakes, make a U-turn, or make a sharp left-hand turn. We're going to start Leagues Cup now. This Leagues Cup that is, what is Leagues Cup? It's a two-year-old tournament that, is basically, a lot of people feel a money grab for MLS and for Liga MX, and people who love the US Open Cup are mad. There are actually some fans are boycotting. Some fans around the country, some supporter groups are boycotting Leagues Cup because they feel that it's, it took away from US Open Cup. Yeah. So this Leagues Cup doesn't have quite the hype of last year. However, as long as they're in it, they want to win it. They're defending their trophy. They have the trophy in their trophy cabinet in Fort Lauderdale. They don't want to send that away to another team. They want to keep the trophy. So as long as they're in it,
they have to give it back.
They want to win it.
They don't get the new champ. The new champ doesn't get a new one.
Well, no, I don't know. I don't know if they get. I think there's one, the real one that all the teams get, and they get some kind of replica.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if this was like a Stanley Cup deal that they had to give it back or something. I don't know. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, but they claim that they're motivated, and I'm sure they are motivated. I do think there's a little. It's not quite as. There isn't quite the anticipation as there was last year's Leagues Cup, and a lot of it is the Messi factor. Messi was playing last year, and to be honest, he has not. Messi has missed 14 games, if anybody is keeping count. 14 games.
Oh, they are. Oh, people are. Yeah. Trust me.
People who paid a lot of money for tickets, by the way.
Well, this is a big hit. This is honestly though, this is a big hit for this tournament because not having him there. I mean, especially if it looks like
for Apple,
he may miss the whole
attendance.
Thing.
Yeah, and the attendance, for example, obviously last year. The opening game for Inter Miami against Cruz Azul was his opening game. You could not get a ticket. LeBron James was there. Serena Williams was there. Everybody. Kim Kardashian was there. Gloria Estefan was there. This year, there were 16,000. So there were 4,000 empty, 5,000 actually, 5,000 empty seats at Chase Stadium for the Leagues Cup. Even though they're the defending champion, there was no Messi. And there were 5,000 empty seats there because people who are season ticket holders, it does not include, I know this for a fact because my husband is a season ticket holder. If you're a season ticket holder, it does not include the Leagues Cup game. And a lot of the fans, including my husband again, he said, you know what? I paid a ton of money this year for Inter Miami tickets to watch Messi and all these stars. And I'm not going to pay more to see the Leagues Cup game, especially if Messi's not playing. So it is a hit. If he doesn't play, it affects the box office. It affects Apple. The TV ratings when he's not playing are not the same as when he does. Merchandise and everything else. So I'm sure he's very disappointed not to be playing, and a lot of other people are also disappointed that he can't play. But Tata said, no matter how much he wants to play, they want him to heal properly, and they want him to be ready for the final part of the season, which is what they're pushing for the MLS Cup. So we'll see. Maybe he'll be able to play if they make the final or the semifinal of Leagues Cup. Maybe he comes in the big hero, and he'll be able to, to come in and make it really exciting to have him in the semifinal or the final, and then return to the league play and make the push for the championship.
Yeah, I mean, as long as they're smart about it, you hope they're not pressured by outside factors, and make sure can't jeopardize the big picture and not have them there for the stretch run like you're saying later on. So, but
Yeah,
it would be great. I mean,
but they're
especially if you
winning
get
without him.
they're winning
And
without
they're
him,
winning
right?
without him.
As long as that keeps going, I
There's not
mean,
as much pressure. I feel like
yeah,
they're not going to take any chances, because if they were losing all the games without him, and everyone would be criticizing them, and everybody would be, on Tata's back and this and that, but they're not. They're winning without him. I think they have the luxury of knowing that they've won 7 out of 8 games without him. They're not going to risk his health. They're going to make sure that he's really, really healthy and healed the ankle, and that he can be himself again. And then, their goal and their mission is to have, by the end of August, which is when the final of Leagues Cup is, when the league resumes, have everybody back from Olympics, from injuries, and have a full squad. And then the dilemma is going to be, who do you play and how many minutes does everybody play? Because you're looking at a guy like Yannick Bright. What is he going to bench a guy like him who's playing that well? What do you do with these guys? What do you do with Diego Gomez coming back from the Olympics? If he plays great in the Olympics, he's going to want to play when he comes back. But Mati Rojas also wants to play. Gramaski's going to want to play. So, it's a good problem to have. It's a good problem to have.
absolutely. We'll see how it goes. I mean, we had a memorable finish last year. That PK, which I will say it and say it again, best PK round I've ever seen. How neither team was missing. It just came down to making a play and goal to decide it. What a game that was. Them in Nashville down to the wire in PKs last year. Who knows? Let's see who it ends up being this time around. Let's see if Inter Miami's in it for starters. They got to keep going. They got a few rounds to navigate through there without the man himself.
Yeah, Tigres starting this Saturday.
Road game, tough environment.
Road game, tough environment. A good team, much better than the Puebla team, on paper anyway. So it should be a really interesting game on Saturday for sure.
For sure. Michelle and I will be back next week to let you know, to talk about that, to dissect the result against Tigres and see where Inter Miami stands in the Leagues Cup at that point, and anything else going on with Messi or any other happenings with the team. We'll be there to cover it for you. But as usual, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Remember, you can catch us on YouTube. You can catch us at MiamiHerald.com. You catch her doing that, and read all of Michelle's stuff at MiamiHerald.com. We appreciate you as always. Until next week, for Michelle Kaufman, I'm Andre Fernandez. Thanks for tuning in to Inside Inter Miami.